I've talked about my process when I'm dealing with adventure games in the past. I'm not sure I've really gotten into it since I've started this PC Engine project, so some newcomers might not be aware of this. Because of how quickly I turn around videos, I generally restrict my gameplay recording sessions to about an hour. That usually gives me enough coverage that I've got footage for a video. For things like action games, I can just sit down, play, and possibly reference the manual, and that's normally enough to get me going. But for adventure games, particularly menu-driven adventure games of this era, I could record for an hour and not have anything. I was 45 minutes into recording Chikudenya Toubee, and I had been to perhaps 4 locations. I like to have a walkthrough in hand when I play an adventure game just to avoid situations like that, but for PC Engine games, and obscure PC Engine games in particular, adventure game walkthroughs tend to not be readily available. So I found a video of someone playing the game, synced it up to where I was, and played for another 45 minutes copying the video, trying to get to the mansion that is the centerpiece for the adventure game. I wound up visiting an additional 4 or 5 areas. Chikudenya Toubee is one of those adventure games where they keep the action to a minimum number of screens in order to save space. And I never did reach the mansion. This game started out as a computer adventure game under the title Hiroku Kubikiri Yakata. That can be loosely translated as the Hidden Records of the Decapitating Mansion. The game was by Bit Squared, and they get their name and the original title on the cover of the game. About 5 years after this, that computer game would get remade a second time, but for that release, they turned it into one of those adventure games. You know the ones, and if you don't, I think we're going to get a couple on the PC Engine before I'm through. The plot of the game is that you're Toubee, a poor Ronin who introduces himself in a lengthy question and answer sequence at the start of the game. His master Basho contacts him for assistance, which Toubee finds weird because Basho is dead. Well, he faked his death to be a spy. The task for Toubee is that he needs to investigate a woman's mysterious disappearance. And when I say mysterious disappearance, I mean she was there 1 second and gone the next. This has happened to several women around Edo, and there's rumors that a mysterious cult may be behind it all. After explaining the whole mission in lengthy detail, the doll that happened to be there serving tea suddenly speaks, and it's a bomb. Chikudenya Toubee has several sections where it's possible to get a game over, and this is the first of them. After escaping, Toubee and his master head to Edo, where the investigation properly begins. Chikudenya Toubee is a menu-driven adventure game where you're given a list of options, you hit button 1 to select what you want to do, and possibly choose what you're going to do it to. Almost all of the game is dialogue-driven, so 95% of the time the commands you want are going to be talk to or ask about. This is one of those adventure games where you have to ask repeatedly about topics before someone finally gives up the vital piece of information that will let the game continue. You're not really going to be able to tell from my footage, but this is a horror game. It's just that pretty much all of the horror is from Chapter 2 onward. Toward the end of the game, there will be the appearances of shambling undead and goopy monsters, which Toubee will have to use his ninjutsu abilities to deal with. Despite having those abilities, he says that he's not a ninja. But look at that cover. That guy's clearly a ninja. There's an infamous sequence in the middle of the game that I was trying to get to, where you find a dead body, and then have to create a sketch of its face to show around town, hopefully identifying him. You only have 1 shot to get the face correct, and if you screw it up, you put the game into an unwinnable state. Fortunately, you can get a password at just about any time, or save your progress to a Tenno-Koei 2 memory bank if you have that peripheral. Chikudenya Toubee is not a well-remembered adventure game in Japan. The computer versions seem better known than the PC Engine one, especially the one with the extra content. I find it kind of hard to form my own opinion here, because going through a playthrough, I can tell that this is an adventure game that was very backloaded. All of the cool and interesting things about it are in the second half of the game. and I didn't get to experience any of it while I was playing. So it feels really unfair for me to call this one out when I didn't see any of the good stuff. And I can't even say that this is a situation where they make you put up with bad content before you get to the good stuff, because the first half isn't really that bad. It's just a lot of setup and exposition. I can say that the game feels a bit shallow compared to some other PC Engine adventure games that we've seen, just because there's so few locations and so few things that you interact with. So I'll just leave it with this. Chikudenya Toubee is an adventure game that made some creative choices, had some of the same problems that plagued poorer quality adventure games of the era, and at least had a unique theme and setting. Maybe that's all it really needed.